YouTubers, welcome back to AZ2 Ozarks. I am out here in the greenhouse today and I want to give you a little update since I haven't given you one in a while. It is now the middle of April and by the looks of things behind me you may say, oh wow, weather is beautiful and perfect. It has not been at all. Today is the first sunny day we have had in a long time, and trust me, I have been missing that sunshine. Back in Arizona, we had over 320 days of sunshine every single year, and we haven't seen the sun in a couple of weeks here. It has rained so much. Our ponds are overflowing, and everything is a muddy mess, and it has just been gray and dreary. To add to that, Mother Nature wanted to throw a little trick up. Well, I guess it's common and expected for this area. I'm just a newbie to the Midwest and to the Ozarks, and so I'm not yet familiar with all of the cycles of the weather and the planting dates and all of that good stuff. I thought I could beat Mother Nature, and well, she gave me a great big smackdown. So I will tell you that on February 1st, I started a lot of my plant starts indoors. I started my tomatoes and peppers. What else did I start? I started eggplants. I started a lot of herbs and they were looking fabulous. And so I did this little routine every day. When it was above freezing, I would carry all of my starts out into the greenhouse, let them get some sunshine so they wouldn't get leggy and die and fall over. And then every night I would train them all right back in the house to be warm for the night. The end of March, we had beautiful weather. It was in the high 70s, it was sunny, it was so nice. And so that last week of March, I ended up planting my tomatoes and peppers out here in the ground in the greenhouse, thinking, well, if we get a little bit of light frost, no big deal. The plants will be just fine in the greenhouse. Now, this greenhouse is, I guess, considered a hoop house because it is not heated or insulated with the double layer or anything like that. It is 105 feet by 14 feet wide now since we added on. Well, come April 1st, the night going into April 1st, we had a prediction, a forecast for, I think, 36 degrees. It might have been for 38 degrees. And I thought, oh, okay, well, that's not frost. We'll be all right. Well, the weather was way off. It went down to 28 degrees and it stayed there for hours. So we were below freezing for over 8 hours. When I came out in the morning, I could have cried. My plants were just looking horrible. And I kind of just turned around and walked away and thought, maybe they'll come back. I was trying to be optimistic. This was a lot of work. I had 8 weeks into these plants where I had been babying them and watering them and carrying them in and out of the house. Well, let me show you what happened. Here we began the walk of shame for the tomatoes. So you can see I've given them plenty of time to come back and they are just crispy little guys. And I had, well, so in the middle row, you will see some flowers and they have since come up since the frost. But all along the way were my tomatoes. I had 60 plants and they are absolutely dead and gone. Then my lettuce did make it, but it's really stunted. It's just not growing very quickly because of the lack of sunshine, I think. But it is still alive. My eggplants, that one, I don't know if it's going to make it. This one is the only one that seems to have survived, but it's not looking beautiful. It's pretty sad. My herbs got hit pretty hard, but the za'atar oregano is still hanging on. I have planted more cilantro, but some of them kind of have like reddish brown leaves where the frost has hit them. Over here, I had all of my sweet peppers. I had 20 or more sweet peppers planted over here and they all bit the dust. So you can imagine I was pretty devastated when this happened, but it was expected, I guess. The locals say, you know, frost can come all the way until May here. Over here I had my tomatillos. I had 7 of them. Now I have to tell you, my tomatillos and my tomatoes all had flowers on them. I was expecting to have little cherry tomatoes ripening this very week. Instead, I have a greenhouse of dead plants. the surprising thing, so I'm actually working on my greenhouse still. So the walkways, I'm adding mulch, and this mulch can be found from our local power company trims trees every year to keep them away from the wires. And so they offer to leave the mulch, which isn't like the best mulch, because you can see there's like giant sticks in here still as far as mulch is considered. Doesn't make the best walkways, but still it's okay. And it's free, and they will dump it on your property. And I had to ask them to, but unfortunately they didn't, but they did dump it on the neighbor's property, and he was kind enough to allow me to come scoop some of his. So over here, I just have the cardboard and paper down to suppress weeds. You can see they're trying their darndest to come up, but I will have mulch in here very shortly. The interesting thing with the frost though was, we had frost last night, excuse my bin. My hot peppers mostly survived. So here you can see my jalapenos, and they're not huge. I think a lot of that just has to do with not very much sunshine yet. But my hot peppers largely survived the frost, which is interesting. And since that frost, going on to April 1st, we've had 2 more frosts. But as you can see, I cover things now, whatever is still alive around here. And we are in fact expecting frost tonight. Last night, I didn't even want to risk it because it said it was getting down to 42 degrees and the weather can be off so dramatically that I went ahead and covered everything that was out here, and it didn't freeze last night, but still tonight it is supposed to frost and I will be covering again. I have planted some frost hardy things here like chard and pak choi. These are like a dwarf pak choi, and some things that overwintered would be the lettuce that we have been enjoying. You can see I just harvest it leaf by leaf. And then these peas. So they made some sort of miraculous comeback after the winter, and now they have flowers. And so we'll have a few peas here in the greenhouse. Little volunteer lettuce. The spinach overwintered, and now it is getting ready to bolt, which means it's going to finally flower. From all of last summer growing season, it never flowered, and I like to save my seeds so I can replant, and so this is finally going to do that. But what happened on April 1st, after I was able to kind of remind myself that life goes on even when you lose close to 100 plants, I went and I replanted replacements for those, a whole lot of them. And so now they're just starting to come back up. Over here's my tomatillos, and there's actually some mizuna there. And then additionally, I planted things that were more tender that I was waiting for later anyway, which would be like my beans, there's some lettuces, my corn, and all of my squashes. So both winter and summer squashes have been planted now. That's a box of sunflowers over there. And yeah, so lots of tomatoes starting to come back up. Some guys are a lot slower than others. And, you know, now I feel like I'm really far behind. Here's some okra. So yeah, I have replanted and things are coming along, but I guess this is my humbling moment to know that despite my best efforts, I cannot beat Mother Nature, and the seasons are the seasons, and apparently I can't get the jump on them that I'd like to. But after tonight, a lot of locals are saying this is the last frost, and May 1st is typically the safe day to plant out. And I'm thinking I may do it. I don't know. I'm still so damaged. I'm going to try and see how long I can leave these plants in their pots before I have to plant them out. I will take you outside. I may end up having to do a voiceover when we go outside because it is still pretty windy out there. This area is a new area that we added into the garden. It's been inside the fenced area since last year, but it's a new area we're adding this year. for the squash mounds. So I have roughly formed 9 mounds here that I intend to put the squash on, and you can see I'm adding mulch. So weeds are a huge problem here, and I haven't planted this first area yet. I intend to have beans and then lots of corn before we get down here. I do have a couple rows of some small brassicas, so broccoli, cauliflower, and then I also have some lettuce that has been planted, and those are frost hardy. They don't seem to be bothered. Along this fence line, I have peas, and actually they have been out for a very long time, probably 6 weeks, maybe more, and the rabbits mowed them down to the ground flat, but they are making a wonderful comeback. And then I have some onions here in the middle. I have more peas that have been placed out more recently, though they didn't get mowed down by the rabbits. Now there's so much grass growing, I don't think that the rabbits have a need for it. Here I have some mizuna, and this is interesting because this is the way I'm familiar with how it's supposed to look. See the stalks and the leaves, it's not real broad. And then about every other plant, it looks like this with a real broad leaf, and the stalks aren't quite as purple. So I don't know what's going on with the mizuna, but there it is. I have garlic that I planted last fall, and so those will keep going till next fall. Here's our tatsoi. It's another oriental green. I have lots of brassicas. And then here, this is where I had peanuts planted last year, and I think those are peanut plants coming up. All these little guys all over the place here. I'm not sure. Maybe comment down below if you know for sure what they are. And jumping over here, I have more garlic. So I have some empty rows that I've planted, but they haven't come up, so I don't know if they will or not. I probably will end up having to replant a lot of things. So the larger garlic is elephant garlic, and then these are just, I guess, a common variety of garlic. So this is a big garden area to manage, and you can see that there are weeds, but there are a lot of other things going on. And these guys, I hope, are going to start taking off a lot faster when we get some more sunshine and warmer temperatures coming later this week. So down here I planted carrots and beets and turnips, and they haven't really come up very well. I planted them probably 3 months ago, even so far ago, so I don't know if the seeds are dead now. There's a few things, like those are turnips right there. Out here we have our fruit trees. I've repotted them to give them even more space. I almost tripped over that one. And then I have a couple more mounds. I'm starting out here. Mounds will be for the melons on this side. And then on the outside, I have my artichokes. And these artichokes are a variety that is supposed to be able to put on artichoke fruits, or I guess it's flowers, within the first season. They're supposed to be able to be grown as an annual, and I have no idea if they'll be able to overwinter and be a perennial here. I really hope that they are. That's how we grew them in Arizona, but nobody I've met actually grows them here, so we'll have to see on that. I have this area that I haven't done anything with yet. I'm going to add a couple more mounds, and then we're back at the back of the greenhouse. It's giant. It's a giant garden area. On this back side here, between the fence and the greenhouse, I will be doing some of those grow bags with potatoes, and I do have some pots. Now it's going to take me forever to get way back over there. I do have some pots with strawberries and raspberries, and I've planted some blackberries in pots because I don't just yet have a place for them where I've decided I want them permanently. Okay, back over here. Here's the strawberry plants. And this one you can see already has flowers, so I'm going to have to cover it for the frost so those fruits survive. There were some other flowers that I didn't cover in the last frost, and I don't see them producing any berries there. So I guess that is my garden update for today. The moral of the story is you really need to figure out what your local climate is, when the frost dates are, and don't get too, I guess, cocky or ahead of yourself thinking that you can beat Mother Nature. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to keep following our adventure.